Bonjour, what is up, Bally Union fans, and welcome to the Union News number 7 with your two analysts, myself, Schady,
and myself, Shroomraver. Welcome, welcome, one and all, indeed. To the Union News. Following the Week 7 games, some very interesting results. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, indeed. Some very big wins and
Yeah.
a lot of clutch games again.
Absolutely. Sorry to interrupt you. I think we're just going to sort of get straight into the meat of things. So, yeah, go on. Do tell us what happened in the first game, Shorty.
Yes, indeed. The first game was the Golden State Dragons and Anima facing off against Spice Productions and the Twin Leaf Tyrants. Anima managing to get a 2-0 victory over Bice, keeping her top of the table. Bice still keeping up in the top half, on top 3, I think, even. So he's not looking in a bad spot. A really, really intense game with an amazing prediction on Anima's part near the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean,
Incredible.
That was an absolutely huge play.
Yeah, I think it was kind of part of Bice's misplay, not going for Icicle Crash turn before. But still, going for high jump kick on a Weavile that will kill you instead of Bullet Punch, expecting the Pidgeot. Incredible play. Huge hats off to Anima. Very well deserved victory just because of that play alone. And stuff like a speed creeping Hippolot, Sped Crept, a speed creeping Conkeldurr.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I quite enjoyed that because Bice specifically creeping it so he could go for Taunt and avoid rocks getting up. But Anima are one step ahead, it would seem. We should say, actually, the team, a little bit of help from a friend of Anima's by the name of Ellis Lusk, aka Fricket, a friend of hers who helped build the team. But yeah, a combination of some fantastic team building and some really steady nerves from Anima in the end game, allowing her to sort of outdo Bice a little bit with that HJK.
Very
nothing too much to say there. I think Bice didn't play badly at all, and certainly he didn't build badly. I didn't even know that Conk got Taunt, by the way.
Neither did I.
I was very surprised. I was just like, that's amazing. I love it.
I already know way too much about Pokemon. I did not know that. So.
Yeah,
I guess we can move on.
Alrighty, yeah. So, little quick go over that game as we move on to the second, which saw a sort of mid-table clash. A couple of teams on 3-3 going into this game. Sizz and the Somerset Sizzles going up against the Blastburn Rovers and their sort of new manager Kyle, who has got off to a flying start as his tenure in charge of Blastburn Rovers, and he continued it with a 3-0 victory over the Somerset Sizzles. Some dubious decisions, I think, in team building from Sizz. No Vaporeon, which instantly made Mamoswine an issue. Just made it such an issue.
And I was curious, where are the Mamoswine anti-floating switches?
Yeah.
I don't see any.
Yeah, and Kyle absolutely knew that. As soon as he saw the team, he would have been thinking, those are my two conditions to win, and he saved them incredibly well. He knew exactly what he needed to do. And we should talk about Kyle's team, by the way, because it was a joy. I mean, just reverse sets all over the place. Spadef Excadrill, which I suppose is kind of a thing, but it's not your first go-to idea. He brought Manual Sun with Scarfed Sunny Day Togekiss and Heat Rock Latias to support a Scarf Typhlosion and Life Orb Chlorophyll Tangrowth, which unfortunately we didn't get to see. Tangrowth never hit the field, which I was disappointed, not for sort of any bad plays on his part. It was just, I would have loved to see it do some things, But yeah, he played a very good game. Sizz, I was intrigued to see Special Registeel, which was, something that was interesting. You don't see that every day. I would have liked to see him go to the bench. I thought Cloyster could have done some decent work here if he had brought it off the bench. But, he did some good things. I liked how he played Torkoal against Excadrill. I thought he played that very well. He'd learnt from his Week 1 matchup against Empoleon about how to use Torkoal to guarantee Rock staying on the field. He did that very well. He lost Megalopony a bit early, but, I don't think he was quite expecting the Scarf Togekiss.
And he made the standard problem of just clicking Fake Out for no reason.
Yeah.
On Mamoswine, which was showed live. So,
yeah.
That bothered me. Kyle's team building was manly as all hell.
Yeah.
No recovery moves outside of Healing Wish. Pretty much no bulk, except for, natural bulk and the leftover VVs and that kind of stuff. He showed me a team before, and I asked him, are you really going to bring this? Are you feeling confident with this? And he was like, yep, completely. He was very confident, very happy about this team.
Yeah, and his confidence was not misplaced. Not misplaced at all. He played a very good game with a really interesting team.
Yeah. Very good on his part. I guess we can move on to the next game. Richie and the Liverpool FC facing off against Freedomian and the Welchians. Richie getting his third victory, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
With a 2-0 over Freedomian. Freedo still a bit of the, falling thing. I don't know the word. Anyway.
in decline.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Not to him it doesn't.
I mean, I'm just going to not say anything.
Fair.
And Richie... continuing his winning ways, kind of. He's getting used to his team. It fits him better now, apparently. And he played a really good game. There was only one thing that I didn't quite like, East being the Manectric, when there was no switch into Sacred Fire. I think that was kind of unnecessary. But other than that, really solid performance on Richie's part. Freedo was not happy with his performance. I know that much. But yeah. Richie, very deserved victory in my opinion. Solid team building, and he overlooked Export as a threat, but it happened.
He is. It seems he's determined to prove you wrong about AV Milotic, isn't he? He brought it this week, and my God, did it put in the work.
I mean, this is a different matchup. I just said that because in the other games he really needed the bulky water with recovery, because could have taken on your opponent's team very well. Freedo's team, however, has things like Celebi and Manectric, which can just take on regular Melodic. Yeah. So I don't think it was a bad decision. It put in the finest of work.
Really did.
And
1v1 the Celebi incredibly well.
I'm still curious where Freedo's anti-switches were, because I didn't see any.
Yeah. I mean, we saw some interesting stuff from him. Surf Chomp was nice. It was sort of a nice little cameo for Surf Garchomp, which was nice, but he just didn't really have the right powerhouses to sort of break Richie. He didn't really have quite the right things defensively. I was looking at the team, I was just thinking, why is there no Wheezing there? Richie has got so much physical offense, and he did bring the physical offense once again. And I was crying out for Wheezing to make an appearance.
Rolling in my skin.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, on Richie's side, he's just really solidly done. Once again, as we said, Milotic put in a nice amount of work. Golbat is gross. It just is. I mean, your flying type that can take a Volt Switch from a Mega Manectric is gross. And yeah, it's very nice stuff. Richie, please use Breloom one time.
Just once.
I want to see you use the mushroom.
You with your mushroom fetish?
I would love to. But yeah, you know, he didn't really need it this week, did he? He had everything he needed with what he brought. So a very well played game by him. And after a bit of a rocky start to the season, as we said, he seems to be getting used to his team, and he's managing to pull out those victorious performances to go along with it.
Yeah.
So, with that said about the third game, let us move on to the fourth game of the week, which saw the Swiskers and their coach Enzo going up against Josh and the Kentucky Kecleons. Enzo taking the 2-0 victory to move himself on to 4 and 3. The Kecleons, unfortunately, still sitting now at 2 and 5 towards the bottom of the table. I was a bit confused about some of the team building choices from Josh. He had a Swords Dance baton pass. What's it called? NASCAR bug. Scolipede. I always forget its name. He had a Swords Dance speed boost, obviously, baton passing Scolipede, but his only physical receiver was a Zard X that already had Dragon Dance.
Yeah.
So I was a bit confused about that as to why that was happening. I think he might have been better served just running fully offensive Scolipede, maybe. Yeah. I don't know whether he needed to be baton passing around, and I don't think he actually did it at any point. He certainly didn't pass the boost into Zard.
Yeah.
Yeah, on his side, he didn't really have an enormous amount for Thunderous, but then again, who really does? Thunderous is powerful. On Enzo's side, running special attacking Victini was very nice. I think, was it sub 3 attacks? to bluff some kind of choice item, but he was running especially offensive Victini, which was a good idea against the Kecleons, who could have some physical walls to take it on. I thought that we were going to be seeing defensive Zard X again to try and take on a potential physical Victini. As it is, neither of those things were there. But he brought of course, we'd say the physically offensive Zard X, but, you know, Swiska's bringing in Kofagrigus, going to those low tiers for a very nice answer to it.
Yes, that took the Dragon Claw surprisingly well.
Yeah, it
like,
did.
I know Kofagrigus is bulky, but it's a Zard X, so I was like, that did 0.
Yeah, very
really
much so.
impressive.
Yeah. What else did we have on Enzo's side? Yeah, he nearly got very unfortunate, got himself into a spot of a sticky situation. When he got his Victini, it appears that there were no PP ups used on the moves. So what we saw was a bit of an unfortunate situation with Blue Flare, having used one to take down something, I forget, could have been Nazcar Bug Scolipede. He then went for it on the Raikou, I think, and missed one, because what even is Victory Star? And then, of course, he went for another one to try and take out the Raikou, but Raikou has pressure. So after going for 3 Blue Flares, he didn't have any left. So his PP ran out, and he just clicked the move, as you would in that situation. But of course, it doesn't come up with you don't have enough PP, it just locks you into struggle.
Yeah,
so
that's stupid.
So the struggle was real. For I know, I'm sorry. For Enzo, but you know, he rallied well, and was able to come out with a 2-0 victory. He's playing solidly. He had a very good start, of course, and sort of a couple of losses since then. But it looks like he's getting himself back on track. Josh, as we've said, has been unfortunate. Never really playing horrifically badly, but just getting unfortunate with things that just don't go his way. Like, for example, a non-invested Venusaur taking a stab psychic from a Mew. I didn't think that was possible.
I mean, it's a Mega Venusaur. You don't.
Yeah, but it's a Mew.
One does not simply Oko Mega Venusaur.
That is true.
Unless you're Rufflet, for example.
There it is. Shardy's favourite Pokemon. Nice and Rufflet.
Up there, definitely up there.
Uh-huh.
I guess we can move on with that.
Yeah.
So I want to see more Struggle VTs, because that's the best set, in my opinion.
Banded Struggle.
Yeah. Depending on the matchup, it's a really solid set.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is the meta right now.
Yeah. So, with that, we move on to Jedi and the Highland Houndooms.
Yes.
Who's back from his hiatus, I guess. Whatever you want to call it. And Gabriel, the LA Gull Luxray. And for the first time in the season, we have a 6-0 in Gabriel's favor.
Yeah.
This game was very late because of time issues and life. Life is a thing that happens. But yeah, I don't have a lot to say, honestly. Gabe had some solid planning on his part. He had answers to everything a Jedi brought, pretty much. Volcarona could have been a bit of a threat, but he neutralized it right away with a T-Wave. Was it a T-Wave?
Yeah.
It was paralyzed.
Yes, it was.
So I'm pretty sure it was a T-Wave. Jedi with some interesting team options. The Hurricane on Volcarona was completely useless. I don't know why you would bring that. I know he had Rain Dance on his Blastoise, but that in the first place was not a good decision. And because that makes Volcarona's Fire Stab weaker, and that's the only reason why Hurricane does anything.
Yeah.
So I feel like I don't think he had Bug Buzz. No, he didn't. Bug Buzz would have been a lot more helpful, in my opinion.
Did he not have Bug Buzz?
No, I'm pretty sure he had Quiver Dance,
Yeah.
Fiery Dance, Hurricane, and HP Ground.
Was it HP Ground?
Yeah, for the Heatran. So that was a good decision. But Hurricane was a waste of a move slot, in my opinion, and should not have gone with the Rain Dance option. Scarfed Skuntank without speed investment.
Yeah.
Doesn't work. It's not a good idea.
He bought possibly the weirdest Scarf duo of all time, with non-invested max attack, max special attack Scarfed Skuntank, paired with a Scarfed Healing Wish Mr. Mime.
I like the Mr. Mime set, though. Scarfed Healing Wish is pretty solid.
Yeah,
Except
absolutely.
For War, for example, doesn't owe you.
Absolutely. Can't fault that. I liked he was running Soundproof as well, in case of that hyper voicing Altaria, which was a nice touch.
And he had speed creeping on some of his mons around the
Yeah.
road and some other things, so that was really solid. Just those 2-3 things on, Volcarona, Blastoise, and Skuntank that just didn't make sense to me. Like,
Yeah. At the end of the game, he was left with 2 Scarfers, which was fairly easy for Gabe to play around. I actually don't have much written for Gabe. Just the fact that he made the safe plays and it was enough in this instance. Jedi was really trying a lot of new things.
they just didn't work against Gabe.
They just didn't quite work.
Solid team.
He's got a very solid team. He's a very solid team builder. And the fact that Jedi lost Volk meant that he just so had such little left for Escavalier.
Which might escalate a huge problem.
Yeah, I think maybe one of his specially offensive grass powerhouses with HP Fire would have been a nice idea for that. Either Superior or Mega Sceptile.
Probably Mega Sceptile over Superior.
Yeah, probably the Mega Sceptile. I thought Rain was a bold move. I said it's a bold move. I like it, but with Goodra around, if he'd have bought Rest Goodra, then that would have been even more of a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gabe
just Hurricane doesn't hit anything on Gabe's team except for Chestnut, which dies to a Fiery Dance.
Yeah.
So I don't see the point, honestly.
Yeah, I guess just looking for that powerful hit in the rain.
And
but
Confusion. Confusion is nice.
Yeah, always a nice
Shout out to Mega
possibility.
Pidgeot.
There it is. Just not quite working out for Jedi, but we say it all the time. He's just one of these people who is really exploring the absolute limitations of his draft, seeing exactly all these things that can be done. Certainly one of the most original and creative team builders. It's not quite coming together, especially against a powerhouse team like the LA Galuxray.
Yep. So the first 6-0, is it the last? I don't know.
We shall have to wait and see.
I'm not sure if I want more.
Only time will tell. As to the possibility of more 6-0s. So, that is going to be that, I think, for Houndooms versus LA Galuxray. So, with that, I think we'll move on to the final game of the week, which saw Xenon and the Slovenian Arcanines sitting at 3-3 going into the game against Ashton, Eric, and the Bristol City Fletchlings. They were sitting at 2-4, and Xenon's Arcanines taking the 2-0 victory. In a really nice battle. Some very interesting sets. Looking at Xenon first, that Crocodile set, max HP Tangerberry, intended to take on Lead Yan Mega. Is Lead Yan Mega a thing?
I mean, against Xenon's team, Yamega is very much a thing.
Fair point.
Honestly, I was expecting Specs Tinted Lens. Because when I saw Yanmega and looked at Xenon's team, that was the first thing I realized. Hey, there are no Specs Yanmega switches, and it outspeeds.
Yeah, it outspeeds most of the things he had. But yeah, I mean,
to see that, but I don't think it was a bad decision to bring Speed Boost. That just, I personally brought this spec set. But it was a good decision still. Because Keldeo is a threat.
Yeah, it very much so. I'll come on to Keldeo in a little bit. That Crocodile set didn't work out how he wanted it to. But it still managed to work, because Eric brought Scarfed Tentacruel, which was beautiful. It was fantastic to see that. He was going obviously up against an opening Crocodile, thinking this is fantastic, I can get rid of it first turn. But that max HP investment on Crocodile, allowing it to live the hit and take out Tentacruel.
Super effective Hydro Pump.
Yeah.
And just chewed that.
It chewed it up and
impressive.
And took out Tentacruel with an Earthquake, which meant turn 1, he really didn't have much for Keldeo. Tentacruel is one of the best things to take on Keldeo. But he lost at turn 1. He didn't really have too much for it. Looking at the rest of... Go on.
There was one question was set on Eric's part to counter Toxic Chansey. I don't think it was best against this matchup. I don't think counter was worth it at all. Because that means Dragalgi just sits there and doesn't care and can sludge bump you.
Yeah. I mean that
stall you eventually.
That Chansey, counter Toxic obviously very nice on Chansey, but that particular set was completely walled by Amoonguss and Dragalgi. Yeah. It literally couldn't touch them unless he was going to be running the rogue physical Amoonguss or Dragalgi, which, spoiler alert, he wasn't.
Talking about Dragalgi, real quick. Xenon said you can't have T-Spikes and adaptability. That is wrong.
You can.
I don't know where he got that from, but... Since it's the Union news, we're bringing the good news. You can have
Yeah. And the thing is,
it didn't matter though. So
I have to say I did kind of disagree with the idea of bringing T-Spikes in the first place, because Eric had 2 potential clerics, Tentacruel, and 4 other immunities to toxic spikes. So I guess it was useful for specific things.
I think Toxic would have been better.
Yeah, Toxic would have been better. Able to really target the things that needed to be hit most. Looking at some of the other sets that were on offer, we saw Psych Up Keldeo. I like Psych Up as a move, but
So do I.
it was a Calm Mind Keldeo.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, it's all very well wanting to steal maybe stat boosts, speed boost, I should say, from a Yan Mega, but if you've got a couple of Calm Minds up and you go for a Psych Up to take the speed boost, you lose those Calm Mind boosts. So it's kind of counterproductive there. I wasn't sure about that. What I was sure about was Relic Song Meloetta.
Yeah, boy.
Not one you see very often. You know, Meloetta itself in its regular form does a lot of work, does it very well. But yeah, I like to see it didn't quite work, unfortunately, because really of another very interesting set on the other side, which was that
Meloetta really quick. I don't think Fire Punch was worth it, honestly. Scissor takes a lot of damage from close combat. So something like knock off to hit, you know, the mon you're going to talk about right now, Dustclops.
Yeah.
I assume.
Yeah.
Would have been a lot better. But you know, it burned it. So.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. That Dustclops set, which was the one that kind of walled out Meloetta, was a trapping burning future sight set, which was there to take on Dragalge, that's the one. There to take on Dragalge. Very interesting set. Fantastic to see that. Not very often that you see sort of manual trapping with, especially paired with future sight. Very, very intuitive, very, very clever idea. Which once again, unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of these clever ideas that aren't quite going to plan. But it was a really interesting build. Not the kind of thing you see on Dustclops very often.
I don't know if Future Sight was the best idea.
Yeah.
Earthquake or just Psychic. I don't know. But it's a cool set.
Yeah, very much so.
The more Future Sight, the better.
Yeah, and speaking of cool sets, that's my phone going off. I don't know if you heard that. Banded Adamant Mean Shao is just disgusting.
So happy. Made me so happy.
The amount of damage it did.
So beautiful.
It was, oh man, it was brutal. It was brutal.
Happy.
Yeah. With the Reckless as well. Banded Adamant Reckless High Jump Kick from a Mian Shao.
No switch-ins.
No, there are no switch-ins. There just aren't. I mean, unless
ghost types die to a jump kick. Yeah.
I mean, science is trying to prove that as we speak. Whether in fact that high jump kick will take out a ghost type, it's possible. You never know. As to the final sort of things I would say about some more questionable decisions of team building, I'd have liked to have seen HP Far and Yan Mega. Just for that sizzle, you know, Air Slash is doing good damage, but it's not really doing enough. I don't think it was a 2-hit KO at the end of the day. On the Arcanine side, I would have liked to have seen Taunt Crook. Taunt Crook could have done a lot of work against the Fletchlings. I thought Sub CM Keldeo could have done some as well, but, you know, he does, of course, have moves that can both hit through subs, and he has things that can take on Keldeo fairly effectively in itself, so wasn't too sort of questioning the Keldeo as just an option that he could have explored, and, you know, he has and will in the future, I'm sure. But, yeah, I'd like to see Taunt Crook, but as it is, his Crocodile set worked out very well, albeit not quite for the reasons he was expecting, but it's nice when these sort of things come together in unexpected ways. So, with that is going to be our roundup of the games from Week 7. So, a little look ahead to the future to see who is playing in... We're going to be using Future Sight, indeed. Well, you know, sometimes you have your moments.
I'm happy.
A look ahead to the games that are happening in the next week's fixtures. Do you want to start us off, or shall I?
Yes, I'm going to start off.
Go for it.
Week 8 starts off with a really, really exciting match.
Oh, yeah.
Anima and the Golden State Dragons versus Gabriel and the LA Galaxy Ray. Both teams only having one loss and 7 wins. Am I completely mistaken?
You are completely mistaken because they've only played 7 games.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 6-1. That's.
And I think Gabe is 5-2.
I don't know. I can't do math. And
I think Gabe is 5-2.
Yeah, 5-2. Maybe. I don't know.
Either way, I think they're certainly in the top 3. They might be the top 2. I'm not sure about
Just
differential.
keep it at that.
Maths with Schady.
I don't know what math is.
But no, I mean, you're right. That's going to be an absolute cracker of a game. I mean, these two, as we said, I think they might be top 2. At the very least, they're top 3. And that's going to be an absolute clash of the titans between Anima and Gabe. They're going to have their work cut out, but this is really going to be a fantastic showing of someone who can take the championship. Whoever wins this game is going to be in a fantastic position.
Yeah.
So, moving on to the second game, and it's going to see Richie and the Liverpool FC going to be taking on Xenon and the Slovenian Arcanines. Richie has been looking good. He's on a bit of a roll, up to 3-4. Xenon, he himself is sitting at 4-3. So we're going to see just raw power versus vast experience here, I think. And it'll be interesting to see which one comes out on top. I mean, if anyone's going to be able to find answers to these ridiculously powerful physical threats that Richie has, it's going to be someone like Xenon. He's going to be able to find ways to deal with it, I think.
I mean, yes, the Arcanine, which should deal with Mega Mobile, for example.
Yeah, he's got some decent intimidators.
Big problem.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether Xenon can find an answer for that Kyurem Black on his team. But, you know, Xenon, he'll be able to dig deep, and he'll certainly find... I think he'll find something. He'll find something, and it'll be interesting to see just what that something is.
Especially considering how slow Xenon's team is, and Kyurem Black outspeeds everything except for Keldeo and speed ties with Arcanine.
Yeah.
I think that's it. So it's a huge threat to his team.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to see how he deals with that.
Absolutely.
If at all. Maybe he just, doesn't do Kyurem Black at all, because the Kyurem Black...
Could well be.
Spooky guy. I think we're going to move on.
Yep.
And we have the Welchians and Freedomion versus Enzo and the Swiskas. Freedo's still trying to get good after his loss against Richie this week. I don't think there are any bench trades. No, there are not. Okay.
There are.
Wait, what?
There are.
Oh yeah, there, because Freedo is... Okay, I can read in chat. Freedo switched out Explode right away again for Crobat, which makes me happy, because Crobat is love, Crobat is life. Yeah. Expo just having, one game and just getting out right away. Crobat's speed gonna be really helpful, especially it just takes on Mega Venusaur.
Yeah, I think that's probably the main reason he's brought it in.
Yeah, definitely. But just helps him deal with it, because Mega Venusaur stops Sylveon, which can do a bit of work against Enzo's team.
Yeah. Crobat is a really good switch in, for this game. Certainly, as we say, because of that Mega Venusaur. But Crobat, of course, just one of those really great utility mons. Can do a lot of things very well and is, bulkier than it looks. I mean, it's a little bat, but it takes hits.
Yeah, it's weak, but it's bulky.
But it does what it needs to, and it's one of the best at what it does. Just that really lightning quick utility, which could be very handy for the Welchians.
Can confirm.
So
yeah, I'm looking forward to this game because they both had kind of an They had a good start, but then it was kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
And now they're kind of somewhere in between, and none of them knows if they're going to make playoffs or not. So.
And that's just going to be one of those games of really scrapping it out to try and get into those last few playoff positions. This is going to be one of those deciding ones, possibly.
Yep.
So, moving on to the fourth game of Week 8, we're going to see Sizz and the All-Somerset Sizzles going to be taking on Ashton, Akai, Eric, and the Bristol City Fletchlings. Sizz sitting at 3-4, the Fletchlings at 2-5, and Eric has brought in Gligar in place of that Dusclops, and we should say that leaves him with no more bench trades, so his team is now locked in as it is, so he's only got those ones to select from now. Gligar, Gligar's a fantastic switch to have, Dusclops, I found it to be just a massive momentum loser.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It's horrendously bulky, but it loses momentum, it doesn't have reliable recovery, and it's weak to knockoff. Gligar is none of those things. It can tank and knock off very easily, It doesn't lose momentum because of course it has that U-turn. It has hazards. It's very useful. It can have hazard removal. It potentially can't be toxic, and it can hit fairly hard as well. You know, Gligar's no slouch. So I think that's a very good decision for him to make. Gligar's a good one. Yeah,
do it. Double dance.
There it is. Double dance Gligar. You have been challenged, Eric. You've been challenged.
Don't do it. Don't do it, please. I mean, yeah, Gligar can check Mega Lopunny. It doesn't want to take an Ice Punch, but it can take one because it's a Gligar.
Yeah.
And do, I don't know, some damage. But on that, Gligar is just a Soul Pokemon.
Yeah, very much so.
Very interesting game because both are kind of still in the playoff race. Not really. I don't think they are.
Possibly.
I mean, Sizz still has a shot.
Sizz is as close as Freedo is, to be honest. Yeah. He's one of those guys on 3 and 4. Along with Freedo and Richie.
His chances are not looking too good, unfortunately.
Yeah, he really will need to win every single... I mean, I don't know if he can.
I don't think he can.
We'll have to find out. We'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to math off-screen, which
we'll do off-screen calcs.
Because I can't do math.
This is true. Can confirm.
I can, but I don't believe in it. Anyway, math is a lie.
There it is.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Kyle, K22, and the Blastburn Rovers taking on Josh, Squirtacular, and the Kentucky Kecleons. Both teams making bench trades. Josh bringing in Hawlucha for Galvantula, and his team is now locked, which means there's no sticky weapon for him anymore. Hawlucha is a massive threat.
Hawlucha is such a threat. I mean, I don't know how. Has it been used at all this season? I don't think it actually has, but Hawlucha is a monstrous beast.
Terrifying.
With that powerful Unburden, and even more powerful acrobatics, it's got very good boosting moves. It can roost up if needs be if you want to run a bulky Hawlucha.
I mean, yeah.
Maybe not.
It's good Hawlucha.
But yeah, Hawlucha is fantastic. So what has Kyle done in response to that in the form
Kyle
of trade?
has switched Bronzong for Hariyama. I'm not sure if he went for the Bronzong for Hariyama, because...
Yeah, Bronzong is in for Hariyama.
Yeah, so he did the other way around than other people do. Good job, Kyle. Learn how to things. Yeah, Bronzong is just an answer to Hawlucha, except if there is a fling.
Ooh, that would be interesting. That would be interesting. I would like to see that.
Do it.
Make it happen. Be real.
Back to the game, I guess. Yeah. Kyle is on a win streak. He's in amazing form.
Yeah.
All three of his performances were incredible. He has brought interesting sets, as the entire team last week. But so has Josh. He has a Mew, which can do everything. So I'm expecting to see some very interesting sets on both sides. No surprises for both coaches that there's going to be stuff they don't expect. We're going to throw them off, which is going to lead to a very interesting game. That's just what I expect.
Very much so. Very much so.
Disappoint me, boys.
There it is. So, moving on to the final game, it's going to see Bice and the Twin Leaf Tyrants. They're going to be taking on Jedi Cardet and the Highland Houndooms. Tyrants currently sitting at 5 and 2. Houndooms, unfortunately, at 1 and 6, rooted to the bottom of the table. And this is a very important game for Bice. Because Bice sitting at 5 and 2, I forget, depending on differential, whether he is 2nd or 3rd at the moment. But we have a chance after this week of games to see 3 teams.
He's 3rd,
is he 3rd? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that confirmation there. But yeah, I was saying, after this week of games, we have a chance to see 3 teams at 6 and 1. If Gabe beats Anima and Bice wins his game against Jedi, we'll see 3 teams at 6 and 1, which is going to make going into week 9 incredibly interesting. And as we say, this is very important for Bice. I think he's sitting at 3rd, going up against Jedi, who very much has nothing to lose at this point.
Short correction: there's no option of having 3 teams with 6 and 1 or 7 and 1, whatever, because Gabe has lost 2 games. I just looked it up. We're bad memory people.
Oh yes, of course. When I said 6 and 1, I meant 6 and 2.
There we go.
Those are I can't numbers. It's a problem. I can't numbers. But yeah, what I meant was we could have 3 teams at 6 and 2. But yeah, as I say, very important game for Bice. Jedi has nothing to lose. he can pretty much bring what he wants to this kind of thing. It's not going to make too much of a difference to his season, but this could be very much make or break for Bice's. So I'm expecting Bice to really bring his A game. I'm expecting Jedi to bring some really weird stuff.
Volcarona.
Well, there it is. It could well be that big banded Volcarona. We will have to wait and see. So,
it's David versus Goliath.
Very much so. Very much so. It's going to be a fantastic game to watch.
Bring what you want. Bring all the weird shit. I'm going to approve of it.
We're all going to approve of it. It's certainly going to be entertaining. We can say that much. But yeah, that I think is going to be it for the Week 8 fixtures. So what we like to do now, of course, is just take a little look at what the managers are saying to and about each other. And we're getting towards the end of the regular season and approaching the playoffs. Smack Talk has kind of taken a little bit of a backseat. And, of course, the managers themselves are looking towards Season 2. Certainly in the case of Eric, who is kind of looking to be out of the running for a playoff position. He's looking towards next season and showed an interest in trying to draft Megalopony. To which Freedo said, that has to go to a good person. You're not eligible. What do we think of that, Schady? What do we think of that?
Can confirm.
Well, yeah, Schady, of course, a fairly big fan of the Megalopony. Hasn't been able to draft it in a full league format yet. Has taken it in a few of those draft-based tournaments. And how did those go for you?
I got hexed all of the tournaments, so I'm never taking part in any tournament anymore in my life.
He lost.
Yeah, that's what I
pretty
mean
much.
by getting hexed.
He didn't do very well.
Neither did you.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah, I did very badly as well, but sure. But yeah, that's sort of a gauntlet laid down to Eric. Basically, Freedo does not think Eric is a good player, it would seem. Eric, of course, going to be taking on Sizz next week, and it's going to be interesting to see if Freedo can back up his statements suggesting someone else is not eligible for a good Mega. We'll have to see whether he can prove himself to be in his next game as well, because, you know, Freedo, it's not looking good for you right now, is it? Not looking too good, but he's still got some a very good chance of making playoffs.
Yeah.
We'll have to see if he can manage that. You know, not too much in the way of shit talk. What I would like to notice...
His chances at getting good are not too good, but his playoff chances are a bit better.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. But yeah, as I say, not too much in the way of shit talking. Something I would like to point out: the three people at the top of the table, those being Anima, Gabe, and Bice, really not taking part in the shit talking either. Do they know something we don't?
Do you imply that they know that they're better than everyone else?
No, I'm just drawing a baseless comparison between them being at the top of the table and not giving in to the smack talking of the group.
They're grown-ups.
There it is.
Freedo.
They're the more mature members of this group. Well, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to conclude things from this instalment of the Union News. So thank you all very much for joining us. We do hope that you have enjoyed. Yeah, look forward to the games that are happening over the rest of this week. Well, they'll be happening a little bit later this week. The next time you'll hear from myself and Schady, we'll be back on Thursday with our power rankings. So do make sure you join us for that. Schady, anything to add before we sign off?
Insert regular Freedo insult here.
Of course, of course. Anything else?
I hope you enjoyed. Bye.
There it is. There it is. But yeah, I would echo those sentiments. We do hope that you have enjoyed. So, thank you once again for watching, and we will see you next time. So, take care, TVU fans. See ya.
Goodbye.